Oh wow, we live, baby. We live.
We are live with our promised. This will be the perfect bracket. Probably not, but I did see where you can win a trip to Mars. So we might be hanging out with the Martians, JB, because we are here to finally reveal the unbiased hard take March Madness bracket, my friend.
Yes, sir.
And it's been a while since we've been on the live stream. We've kind of talked about that we're going to shorter content. We're getting with the times, in other words, and we're doing a lot of live streams. Me and JB have been talking about we're going to be live streaming some NCAA March Madness games. We hope it can be Purdue. Obviously, there's so many games. We will find one, and we will find a good one, and we will do that with you guys. But right here, right now, JB, we are here to do the March Madness 2025 bracket. You think Purdue got a chance this year, man? We gonna repeat?
I
We gonna go
mean,
back to the Natty? We gotta get back at least to repeat.
we got to, but I mean, during the regular season, there were some games that I seen that they struggled on, and we should had won. That's what kind of is a little me for me is a little iffy. Um, but yeah, I mean
This year's kind of an interesting year too, because last year it was obvious UConn and Purdue were the two best teams all along, and obviously UConn was the best.
Mhm.
But this year, obviously UConn lost a lot of players. Duke has Cooper Flag, the biggest hyped prospect probably in a while. Um, so they have some players, but they're not a perfect team either. You got St. John is finally relevant again with Ripatino. There's not really one team dominating everybody, so it's really a hard year to predict this year.
Oh yeah. So I'm seeing some new faces like High Point, for example. Who's High Point? Don't know.
You better
SI.
watch out, JB.
Oh, I know. This S the and the SIU Edwardsville
Oh God,
McNeese
Remember that last year, McNeese, the knees,
Wofford Wooford.
waffle.
I mean, you might as well. Robert Morris. I mean, that's all these low teams or the low ranked. I mean, they're
North Carolina's got to play a play-in game too. It's been a very weird season, JB.
hmm and everyone's so apparently someone's actually there's quite a few people here in Indiana that I heard that they're not too happy that IU's not in it.
You know, for those that don't know, there was this period about a week where my grandpa passed away recently. My grandpa was a big IU fan. So part of me, for that reason, wanted IU to kind of sneak in there, but I'm happy they did not make it. Here's why. All football, I don't know if you checked out my short, but I'm about to go on a rant. All football season long, all me and you had to hear as Purdue fans was, ha ha ha, Purdue sucks, Notre Dame IU, ballin', ha ha, Purdue's the laughing stock. And in football, we were.
Oh yeah.
And now it's basketball season, JB. We're Purdue in a basketball state. This is not a football state. This is a basketball state. Go watch the movie Hoosiers, for Christ's sake. This is a basketball state.
hmm
And when it comes to college basketball, we are the only team representing the basketball state. So this is still very much a Purdue basketball state. Y'all can have football. This is a basketball state, JB.
Oh yeah.
And we own that. We own it. We own the basketball.
Oh yeah, we for sure do. But yeah, it's getting to a point where Purdue needs to actually step up on their football because it's becoming a laughing stock for a while. I mean, it's coming ridiculous now.
Last year was bad. Last year was the worst season I can recall. There have been some doozies, JB.
I mean, we won a we we won a bowl game a few years ago. I mean, the bowl game was irrelevant at that point. But I mean,
Well, a
it's
couple years ago, we were playing. We played Michigan in the Big Ten championship not very long ago. So
Hmm.
to go from that with Aiden O'Connell at least playing in the Big Ten championship game to now winning one game against Indiana State, wow! I don't wow.
Yeah,
And a
we
lot of
went,
that's because our coach left, and then we had Ryan Walters.
and you were kind of high of hopes on Ryan Walters.
Yeah, he was the Illinois defensive coordinator. I thought he'd bring a defensive culture and a toughness, and he
And
did
I
the exact opposite.
and I told you he was not going to be a good coach. I was not a high
Well,
set on him.
hopefully you were not. You were not. Now, hopefully, this new coach, this Odom, can get the job done.
I do believe so. I mean, he was. I've seen his resume. I mean, he had a really great resume on with multiple or quite a few teams that where he took
Yeah, you.
that he took a losing college campus football team to a winning football team in just a matter of a season. So I mean, if he can do that with Purdue and with his knowledge with getting players into or getting these high school players into Purdue. I mean, let's hope the scouting is a lot better because I mean, the way that we played last year, I don't think no high schoolers wants to go to Purdue.
Well, it's really not about recruiting anymore, JB. It's about NIL and transfer portal.
Oh
And
yeah, I mean
Purdue
that
needs.
and but no one wants to at this rate, no one wants to be coming to Purdue at that rate. But I mean, who knows? Maybe some of his players that he coached prior, they might come to Purdue.
And he did turn UNLV around. That's who you were referring to.
Hmm.
UNLV around. I know that's
Yeah, that one.
a weaker conference than the Big Ten, but I'm hoping maybe he can translate some of that success because we can't get any worse.
Oh no, but I mean,
But JB, on another pressing side, we are here for basketball, and Purdue has a very good basketball team. JB,
yes, yes, we do. I mean, we were kind of a little struggling that we were trying to figure or before this basketball season. I don't. We were trying to figure out who's going to fulfill Zach Edey's shoes, and we won't even know if we even be. I mean, we'll be relevant this year, but not as high I was hoping. So let's
no,
hope.
you're absolutely right.
Yeah,
You're absolutely
let's
right. And
hope that everything works out accordingly.
with that, JB, with it going accordingly, we are going to begin this, and I'm tracking the South first. Do you want to go every other, or and you pick one, I pick one, something like that?
Ooh, we're going with the South first. We could alternate, or we can decipher, and we can
Oh,
choose together, or we can go back and forth since this is both of ours.
let's do what we did last year, which is we will come to an agreement
Hmm.
with the unbiased hard take bracket.
Yep, I like the sound of it.
All right, JB. Oh God, Auburn versus one of the play-in teams, and I'm not even gonna lie, JB, because I don't know these play-in teams right now because all I see is the abbreviations, and it's ALST and SFPA. I feel like I'm at a government meeting right now
I mean,
against Auburn, which is an S.
oh
I
yeah,
mean, they're
I mean, there's
a
no.
one seed.
I mean, it's not even the
There's no.
number one seed. It's not because they're the number one seed. Auburn is just they're fantastic this
Yes.
year. Um,
Oh yeah. And with them being in the SEC is a tough basketball conference too. You're looking at possibly you could have four SEC all 4 SEC teams in the Final Four, and for
mhm.
them to come out as a one seed, I agree with you.
Now, who are they going to face? Louisville or Crichton? Crichton is back,
That's right.
and they're ranked
They are a
9 this
9
year.
seed.
They're a 9 seed this year, which is actually really surprising. Who do you think?
I'll maybe say Creighton because I watched the Louisville Duke ACC championship game, JB, and while yes, I'm high on Duke right now because Duke won their ACC championship game without Cooper Flag, but the fact Louisville could not beat Duke without their best player is a bit concerning to me. I'm looking at the stats right now, so I might take Creighton here.
Hmm. Okay.
There's always upsets, and this I think we're looking at one here, JB, because they lost by 11 points without Cooper Flag playing. So for them not to be able to pull out their conference even without their opposing rival's best player, I'm not high on them in the tournament this year, JB.
Hmm. I mean, yeah, Louisville has been on a downhill for a little bit, but Louisville's always tough when it comes to March Madness. I don't know why, but Louisville is always that tough team when it's we're calling this the playoffs. I mean,
It
it's
is.
it's pretty much is, but Louisville is always tough. But I will kind of I'm one to say I'm leaning in towards Louisville a little bit just because they're a little bit more gritty. But Crichton,
I could see
they're
them. I could see that.
they're 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 a little sneaky, and then I could see them being a very sneaky team that going forward. So let's hope. But
I'm going to give you Louisville here because there's one team I think is going to go a long way. So I'm going to give you Louisville here because I'll let you know when we get to that time.
so we're both deciding Louisville, correct?
Right? Yes.
All right.
Because quite frankly, I'll go ahead and I'll spill the beans now. I am super high on St. John. Won the Big East tournament for the first time in years. They were the very epitome of a dumpster fire, and Rick Pitino comes in and turns another team around.
Hmm.
So when we get to St. John, you got to give me that one a few times. So.
Oh yeah.
But next, JB, is Michigan versus UC San Diego. And I mean, I think Michigan. I mean, they won the Big Ten tournament. JB, they slapped
Since
Purdue,
since
slapped Purdue.
2018, that's when they won the last Big Ten championship. So congrats,
Right.
Michigan.
I mean, I'm
I
impressed with Michigan. I mean,
I
they
am
won the Big Ten
impressed too.
tournament.
I mean, this is the first time in a while since the Michigan basketball team has been irrelevant for us for a while, for a hot minute, in my opinion. In my
Correct.
opinion,
It is.
um,
It is.
I mean, we always seen Michigan into a little lower ranking, but them being ranked 5 this year is pretty dang good. Not gonna lie.
I mean, I
So
absolutely agree.
I'm picking UC San Diego. They're my underdog. Just kidding. Michigan is way too good right now.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
for football. They can kick rocks. I can't stand Michigan football fans. I can't stand them.
And programs tend to be either good at one or the other. You tend to don't have good at both. Michigan, Ohio State, football, Notre Dame football programs, right? Hoosiers, Purdue, Duke. You see anyone going to Duke to play football, JB? No, they're going to play basketball. You have certain schools that are just really good at one and tend to suck at the other. So I
Mhm.
think Michigan here, yeah, it's impressive what they've been able to do.
Now the next one,
Ooh, we got an Ivy
Texas
League.
A&M versus Yale.
Yeah. All right.
We'll just
I
Yale.
think it's gonna be Ivy League teams are ten. I mean, they always one that seems to win, but I think just A&M's better. JB and
Yeah,
A&M beat
Yale.
Purdue.
Every time Yale gets in there, they had that one year where they knocked out. I think it was the first seed or the second seed. in the first round. I forgot which year that I may be thinking of somebody else, but
Right. There's so many, and
there's so many
I mean,
upsets. But yeah, I don't think
I think
Yale's
A
not
and
gonna.
M.
And they're not gonna stand a chance with A&M. So
Because A&M is seems to always beat up on the bad teams. Now, A&M did win against Auburn and Purdue. So I mean, I think A&M's going to win this game if they can beat Purdue and Auburn and keep it close against Alabama, and they got their ass kicked against Kentucky. But I mean, if they're beating Auburn, they're going to beat Yale.
mhm.
Then moving on, so we have A&M, Ole Miss versus San Diego State or North Carolina. Ole Miss gonna win. I'm gonna go on a rant about North Carolina here a little bit because even if North Carolina wins, it doesn't matter. North Carolina should not have gotten in this year. The only reason they got in is because of the name of the school.
Pretty much.
They had a horrible year this year, JB.
But yeah, pretty much. I
I
mean,
mean,
they've been slacking this year. I mean, last year they were pretty decent, but I mean, honestly, it should have been IU instead of North Carolina, in my opinion. Um, North Carolina had, actually, IU had a lot better season than what North Carolina had this year. And like you said it yourself. They're only in it just because of the school.
oh, absolutely, yeah. Obviously, going Ole Miss here. All
Now
right, then
we got Iowa State versus Lipscomb.
that's funny, JB. And I mean, I'm going Iowa State here. I mean,
I don't even
I think
know
this
what
is a
Lipscomb is. So, I mean, good job, I guess. I mean, congratulations. You made the March Madness, but I don't even know what your record is. I never even heard of
well.
you.
I've heard of them. They're 25-9. I've heard of them before. The problem with them is they play in a really really low end conference, Division One conference. Like here's their wins, notable results. I'm gonna try to say this against the Duquesne Ducks. They won by 4.
Queen Ducks.
Wolford Terriers. Yeah, they played. They beat the Wolford Terriers. They lost to Eastern Kentucky. They got their ass kicked by Kentucky. They beat Northern Alabama twice, and they lost to Arkansas by 16. Arkansas sucks. So I mean, they're in it because they play in a small conference. I mean, it is what it is. Iowa State's going to win this game.
And they're playing with the big boys, and they're going to. It's not even going to be a game.
Yes, I'll start this one, JB, because Marquette versus New Mexico. I am not picking any Mountain West team, JB, because remember last year? I had our results up from last year. I was very high on New Mexico last year, and I was extremely high on that conference in this tournament, and I got bit in the ass and it killed our bracket. So I'm not doing that again, JB. I'm picking Marquette. What do you think?
I mean, New Mexico. I mean, how far did they go last year?
They lost in the first round, JB, and I think I had them in like the Elite Eight.
Oh yeah, we had them in Elite Eight because of you.
Yep. So I'm not doing that this year, JB. Marquette's the home of D Wade. I'm a Miami Heat fan. I'm picking Marquette.
Yeah, I was really a big fan of D Wade when I was seeing his when he I think it was his freshman year in college when I was randomly scrolling through YouTube and it said saying D Wade and I was really a big fan. I was really glad when the Miami Heat drafted him. Um,
Legend.
because oh, yeah, completely legend. But yeah, I'm picking Marquette as well. Now,
Now, JB.
Michigan State versus Bryant.
Michigan State in my personal bracket that I did. I actually did one with my wife. She's never done one before. It's a side story. So I was doing one with one with my wife last night, and I actually in that bracket had Michigan State winning the whole thing. I mean, they're kind of people say a thuggy team, but they're tough. They're gritty. They can play. They have
They're
one of the
always
greatest
tough.
coaches of all. Right. They have one of the greatest coaches of all time in Tom Izzo. I mean, probably the goat. Tom Izzo, possibly. John Wooden, you could argue as well. But in college basketball, it's more about how good your coach is rather than your players because players come and go. So give
Hmm.
me Michigan State. They're going to make a deep run, JB.
Oh yeah. Now, do you want to stay in the South and complete the whole um entire bracket until
Yeah,
we?
yeah, that makes sense. It's easier to follow.
All right. So now we got. Actually, no. You do this one.
Auburn versus Louisville.
Hmm. I don't know. I'm still sticking with Auburn. I mean,
I mean, yeah,
they're just way too much of a powerhouse, in my opinion.
like I 100% agree with you. In Louisville, when they play good teams, they lose. They beat North Carolina, Pittsburgh, then they lose to teams like Duke, twice, and Kentucky. So they lose to good teams.
Hmm.
That's the formula of Louisville. So they'll lose to Auburn here, who's just too good, JB.
Now Michigan
Now,
and Texas A&M. I'm going to. I want to pick A&M because I don't think Michigan can't go that far, but they might. I mean, the way they've been playing, they might. But Texas A&M, they're just way too competitive, and they're just way. How am I supposed to say it? A better school in basketball, in my opinion. Michigan has the
you know,
football team, and I'm glad that they're doing okay in basketball this year. But Texas A&M, I don't know, something just tells me Texas A&M is going to be pretty good this year, or going to go pretty far this year.
I'll let you pick that one, and I think here's why. Because yes, Texas did beat Texas A&M in the SEC tournament, but I talk about the SEC being the toughest conference basketball this season. I think so. I'm going to give that they did beat Auburn, they did beat Purdue. I don't. I know Texas A&M is Texas A&M is the higher seed, but I think more people will pick Michigan. I think they'll be favored. Won
Hmm.
the Big Ten tournament, they're hotter. I think A&M will. This is more of an upset. I'll go A&M. Then JB, Ole Miss versus Iowa State. And me personally,
I'm picking Old Miss. I want to pick Old Miss. I don't know. It's just
see
something.
I want to pick Iowa State because here turnaround Ole Miss plays good teams. Lost to Purdue by 2, beat Alabama, lost to Texas A&M, lost to Auburn 3 different times, and lost to Florida. And Ole Miss lost to Auburn each time by 10 points or more. Wait, no, they lost the last time by 5. They at one time they lost 106-76.
Mm,
And Iowa State did lose to Auburn as well, but they lost by 2. But I mean, Iowa State did beat Kansas, Marquette, Arizona. I think Iowa State maybe, JB.
Yeah, you're. I can't pull up this. I'll pull up the all the stats, but I mean, the way you're describing it, kind of pursued my way to Iowa.
Okay. Okay. One more in round of 32, JB.
Marquette versus Michigan State, and to me, there's no exception. It's it's Michigan State.
I mean, it absolutely is Michigan State, JB. I mean, and then they're my pick to win the whole thing in my other league, the other bracket I'm doing. I do about 3 brackets. I always do one personal bracket, the unbiased bracket, which is what we're doing here today, and then I always do a fun bracket where Purdue wins the whole thing. I do that every year. I agree. Now, JB, down to the Sweet 16 for this conference. Auburn versus Texas A&M.
Auburn.
I mean, yeah,
To me, that's
yeah, I agree.
it's no.
I think so.
And then Iowa State and Michigan. I mean, that one's a tough one.
Well,
That
I
one's a
think
little bit.
Auburn wins because I think I'll go back to the Auburn A&M game. I think, and you, JB, Texas A&M beat Auburn by 11 when they
Mhm.
played. I think it was early March, if I remember correctly, March 3rd or 4th, something like that. And I don't think they'll do it. They can't do it twice. I don't think, JB.
No, I don't think so. I think this is going to be a payback game, and
I agree.
Auburn is. I think they're ready for for Texas A&M.
Now, here's the question, JB. Out of the South, who represents in the Final Four? Auburn or Michigan State? A 1 and a 2. Personally, I think Michigan State. Because like I said, Auburn's flailed a few times. They've already lost to A&M once. Michigan State has the better coach, who's won a national championship before. So I'm leaning Michigan State. They're tough, they're gritty, they're kind of thuggy, people say. I like it. I like what I see.
Yeah, I agree. I think Auburn. They had a great run, and it's like you said, there is going to be a rough spot in their season, and this is when they're going to face against Michigan State. So I'm picking Michigan State as well.
Now, JB, what conference we going to now, my friend?
Let's just go. Let's keep on going down. Let's go to the West.
Down West Side. With that, JB, Florida versus Norfolk State.
Next, Florida. Next,
Yep, Florida. Now, here's one. 2-time defending champion going for the three-peat. Can they do what Kansas City failed to do, JB? UConn versus Oklahoma. Personally, this is the upset, I think. Dan
yeah.
Hurley and UConn has struggled at times this season, JB. They've made the tournament. It's impressive. 2 in a row, made it again this year. They won 2 natties in a row, but I'm
But
leaning Oklahoma. There's always upsets.
from going to the 1 seed
Hmm.
and going straight down to the 8th seed, that's disturbing, in my opinion.
20 double-digit losses, JB. 23 and 10 this season.
Mm-hmm. And Oklahoma, I think it's going to be this upset. I don't think they're not. I'm picking Oklahoma.
I am too. They didn't win. I mean, UConn didn't even win their conference championship. They're the 2-time defending champions. Yeah, give me Oklahoma. Now, JB, Memphis versus Colorado State. This is one of them weird games where both teams are kind of.
Eh.
I want to say Memphis because they beat Michigan State in November. I know that's early in the season, but I mean they did beat Michigan State, JB.
Yeah. I'm going. Yeah. I don't know. It's just Memphis is just. Yeah. Now, Maryland or the Grand Canyon? I mean, there's no other reasonable answer that Maryland is.
Yeah, I'm looking for a reason to pick Grand Canyon and I can't find it, JB.
Yeah,
I think
there.
Maryland.
I mean, I can tell you, there's not. I mean, they're in. I think the only reason why Grand Canyon in here is I do believe they're in a weak, and I mean weak, um, division.
I mean they are. They beat. Here's their notable results. They beat the Utah Valley Wolverines, the Seattle U Redhawks twice. One time was by 3. They beat the St. Louis Billikens. And they beat them by 1. Whenever they play a legit school like Arizona State or Georgia, they lose. So
Hmm.
yeah, give me Maryland. Give me Maryland, JB.
All right, now Missouri or Drake?
I said I think the SEC is tough this year, JB. I think Missouri.
Hmm. I do
I think if
agree.
they played in if they played in a different conference, they'd be a higher seed. Then Texas Tech, another Texas school, JB, versus UNC Willington, something
Wellington,
like that.
Texas Tech. I mean, there's.
I mean, yeah.
I
When
feel
you're
like that
looking at a team,
all these low seeded teams, I feel like they're not going to make it. I don't think not even one. Well, maybe one. They might make it. The way I'm
I
looking at
agree.
it, it's like,
I agree. I don't. I think because of NIL, you're going to see a lot less upsets in college basketball. Even I'm calling for a less upset season this year because of NIL money.
mhm.
And JB, who do you got here? Kansas versus Arkansas.
Now Kansas, they bumped down a little bit. They're
Yeah, they were 21-12 this year, JB. They had a rougher season. They made the tournament this year because they did have a 3-point win versus Duke in November. They beat Iowa State by 17 in February, and they actually beat Arizona on the 8th of this month. So that's why they're in, because they had notable wins. You know what? I maybe, because we haven't picked a lot of upsets yet, maybe give it Arkansas this time. There's no reason to. There's no reason to pick Arkansas. But there's always that weird game.
mhm. Hi Oliver. Oliver says hi in the chat.
Hello. Welcome to the Unbiased. Who do you think's going to win, Oliver? What do you think, JB? Kansas, Arkansas. If you pick Kansas here, I ain't gonna get mad. I'll let it. I'll let
I'm
it
gonna pick
roll.
Arkansas.
This just feels like
I'm picking Arkansas.
okay. Okay. Now, here's where I want. I really have a strong feeling of St. John's this year. Rick Pitino, who yes is a very questionable decision maker in his personal life, as we all know, but I mean, how many teams does he have to turn around, JB? I mean, he won the Big East tournament. That's the same conference the two-time defending champions play in, UConn. I'm impressed with St. John's, JB. That he
Hmm.
turned the dumpster fire around. They were the laughing stock of college basketball. This is the one I truly think goes far this year. Give me St. John's, and they're a 2 seed on top of it, so it's not
Oh
really an
yeah,
upset. It's just really surprising to see them do this well this year.
yeah. I mean, it's no shocker. I mean, Saint John is they came from nothing to number 2 in this number 2 seeded in the March Madness. So I mean, what you got
Listen
to
to
do?
this, JB. Here is St. John's. Here is St. John's wins since February 2nd. So not that long. Big primetime ball, right? They won against Marquette. They won against UConn. They won against Creighton. They won against UConn again. They won against Marquette twice in a row. One time was by 16 points, and then they beat Creighton 82-66, JB, 2 days ago. I think St. John could win the entire thing.
Oh yeah, good. They could. Who knows?
Now where we going, JB? We're traveling.
We're staying in the West. Remember, we're gonna finish
Oh,
that
that's
up.
right. You're right. You're right. You're
Yep.
right. Thank God you're here to correct me.
Florida and Oklahoma. It's no shocker here. I'm picking Florida.
No, I'm picking Florida as well. SEC team. I'm high on that conference this year, like I've said many times. And Oklahoma, we have them upsetting UConn. I don't think they can pull 2 upsets in a row.
No.
Now, Maryland and Memphis, JB, a 4 and a 5 seed.
Hmm. I want to say Memphis, but they really, even though they're the number 5 seed, I just don't think that they did so many like wow moments. Maryland has, in my opinion, just a little bit more than Memphis. So I want to go with Maryland on this one.
I agree with you. I'm gonna go with Maryland on this one. They play in the Big Ten. It's a hard conference. They played very well in the Big Ten tournament. I think Maryland wins. Now, the Mizzou or Texas Tech, JB.
I'm picking Texas Tech. I mean, there's Missouri
I
really
agree
doesn't.
with you.
Yeah, it's
I agree with you, JB. I agree. I mean, Missouri, really their only big win as of recently was against Alabama, and they did win a 110-98. So that's a horrible college score, horrible defense in that game. But yeah, I think Texas Tech wins. They have had a more consistent season and have wins against better opponents, such as Arizona, um, excuse me, Kansas. I mean, yeah, I'm gonna go Texas Tech.
yeah. I mean, it's no question. Now, Arkansas versus St. John.
Like I said, JB. I mean,
Yeah, there's
I
no
think I said enough about
St.
St. John
John.
last time.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Arkansas. I know one Arkansas fan, and she's a big Arkansas fan. And I'm sorry, but St. John, they're gonna whoop you a whole new one.
And they're a good story. That's the best part. They were a dumpster fire last year. Now they're looking at a natty, possibly.
Hmm.
But now, JB, things get tight because we're in the Sweet 16 out west between Florida and Maryland.
Florida.
I
It's
I
just
agree.
this
I mean,
Maryland. Like I said, I don't think they can't compete with Florida this year.
not in that conference.
Mm-mm, not even close.
No.
It's not even up for debate.
Now, JB, Texas Tech versus St. John. And I think St. John, like I said, could very well win the whole thing. Like I said, they ended the season winning 7 games against teams that made the tournament. Texas Tech lost to Arizona, lost to Arizona twice, lost to Houston, lost to Iowa State. So I mean, I think Texas Tech's just outmatched.
Hmm. Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, Texas Tech, hey, they're a pretty tough team. They're a tough team this year. I mean, St. John, like I said, there's so many words that describe St. John right now, and they're just a lot better of a team than Texas Tech. So that's all I'm going to put down to it.
Now it's hard, JP, because Florida versus St. John to go to the Final Four out west.
I want to I want to pick St. John.
No, I do too. I think this is going to be the upset, and I don't only want to say it's an upset. Look at their wins, but people would consider this an upset. But I do. I agree with you, JB. I want to go St. John. I
Well, and
think
that
St.
and
John
also
and
their
Michigan State.
the seedings for it. So
Right, and I think in that Final Four, it's going to be Michigan State versus St. John, JB.
I think it's funny that we've had the Sweet 16 for the South and the West. We've had the first seed and the second seed for both, and now we have both second seeds in the Final Four.
Now we're going to wait for the Final Four until we get
Yep.
the out east side.
The East and the Midwest. Now, which one do you want, East or Midwest?
Let's do East. We'll do Purdue's last. Got to save the best for last, JB.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure, for sure, for sure. Duke, AU, and Mount. There's no question about that. Going
Let's
Duke.
go ahead and yeah. And Cooper
Um,
Flag is playing in the March Madness, so yeah, Duke.
Mississippi State versus Baylor.
I want to
See
say
them.
Mississippi State. I don't know why Baylor is ranked as high as they are. They were 19 and 14, JB. So why are they a 9 seed? That doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Oh no, but yeah, I kind of agree with you.
So yeah.
Mississippi State, Oregon, and Liberty.
Liberty, Liberty. Um,
I'm
Oregon did. Oregon beat Maryland and Alabama and Wisconsin.
yeah, I'm
And Liberty lost. Liberty lost to Florida Atlantic and Louisiana Tech. But they did beat McNeese. Yeah, give me Oregon, JB.
yeah. There's no. Yeah,
Yeah.
Arizona versus Akron. I mean,
Yeah.
Arizona for me.
I
I
mean, I
mean,
I mean, I think so too.
but I feel like
I
there's
mean,
one of these teams that's gonna beat one of these big names. I have a feeling, but I mean, if we're going to go through stat wise,
no.
this is why the bracket is always important.
Quality of wins matter. It means more for Arizona to go out there and beat Baylor by 11 or Iowa State or Texas Tech, which they did, versus Arkansas. Excuse me, versus Akron, who beat Miami of Ohio and Kent State, and they lost to Princeton and Yale and St. Mary's.
Yeah, I mean,
People can call us boring all they want. It's the stats are right there. It's right there and right
it's it's the
on a platter.
stats. I mean,
People, it's just too obvious. Too obvious.
but the BYU versus the VCU.
You're right. You did say that you feel like one of these games are going to be an upset. And VCU's been to the Final Four before in the past. They were that story, many good story, many years ago.
Mm-hmm.
They've been consistently in the tournament ever since. And so I want to say VCU, JB. You're right. We have to get an upset in there. You're right. What do you think? Is this the one or no?
Oh yeah, I do believe this is the one. VCU, they've grinded and they've consistently going all the way through to the Final Four. But yeah, BYU. I mean, I feel like they've had a few rough spots in the season, and yeah, I think VCU is gonna they know what to do and they know how to get the job done. So give me VCU,
I agree, JB. Now, Wisconsin versus Montana.
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin. I mean, yeah. I mean, Wisconsin beat Purdue and Michigan State at one point in this season, and you're looking at Montana's biggest wins probably against South Dakota State, probably.
Yeah.
So you're right, JB. Wisconsin.
Now St. Mary's
Saint.
or Vanderbilt. I want to say Vanderbilt as well with this one.
I do too because that's another SEC team. Yeah, they did at one point lose four in a row, but look who they lost to, JB. Florida, Auburn, Tennessee, Kentucky. They did manage to beat Tennessee and Texas A&M.
Mm-hmm.
So you're right. I think you're right, JB. I mean, yes, Vanderbilt has more losses, but look who they lost to. That matters.
Mm-hmm. And then against with St. Mary's, I mean, it's probably not as much difference. But next, we got Alabama. Roll Tide. Nothing but the Roll Tide. Versus Robert Morris.
I'm rolling with the Tide, JB. It's a
Oh yeah,
football program, but
but it's always weird. That's one of those schools that does really well in both of the sports, football and basketball. I don't know why, but Alabama is starting to become a really good basketball team now. And
yes,
they
you're
have
absolutely
been,
correct,
and
JB.
they have been for a while, but they just really haven't been going that far. And this is the first time quote me this if I might be wrong, but this is the highest I've seen Alabama been seated in a long time.
Yeah, you're right. You're correct on that. I mean, this is definitely the highest expectations the basketball program has. Now, I worry about that when we get down the line once you start playing like Duke and stuff like that. But I think for now, Alabama wins.
Hmm. Yeah. Now, next game, Duke versus Mississippi State.
Like me some Mississippi State, JB, but Duke's just too good. They have the best college basketball player on the planet.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's like there's no question. Duke. Excuse me.
Now, Oregon versus Arizona.
I want to say Arizona. I don't
I
think
think you're correct.
I think Oregon is not up to playing Arizona.
I 100% agree with you, JB. So we are going Arizona. Now, VCU versus Wisconsin. We're going to keep riding that train. Toot
Oh,
toot.
oh yeah. I'm gonna keep riding the VCU train for a little bit. For a little bit. Um,
There's always that weird team that kind of gets farther than they
it's
should.
always that weird team, and it's always VCU. For some odd reason, it's always going to be VCU. And like, Wisconsin is a very good team,
Absolutely.
but the way that VCU plays in the March Madness and how they study the bigger teams, it's amazing. to me, it's very amazing. But there's just sometimes that they try to study it so hard and it just does not go their way. But yeah, I'm going VCU.
Now, Vanderbilt versus Alabama.
Alabama. Roll
Now,
Tide.
personally, I think Alabama against a Vanderbilt team, which is a good SEC team. Alabama is just better. We're not
Mhm.
playing Duke yet.
Oh yeah, no.
Now, speaking of Duke, Duke at Arizona in the Sweet 16 for the East Side.
I mean, it's Duke.
It's Duke. They have multiple NBA players, with Cooper Flag being their best, and he's finally back. Mind you, JB, they won the ACC tournament, excuse me, Duke Conference Championship without their best player. And
Mhm.
a school that's going to do that because they have other players like that Kneppel. I mean, who averages 14.4 points a game, 4 rebounds a game. I mean, he's a good player as well. You got multiple NBA players on Duke, so yeah.
Is Cooper Flag going to be the next LeBron James?
Ooh.
I mean,
No, there's
even though in this generation, I do believe I like to go through generations. Michael Jordan was the best player in his generation. LeBron James was the best player in his generation.
Mhm. Yes.
Cooper
Well,
Flag going to be the best player in his generation. Is he going to be the next big thing? Like everyone's going to say, Victor Wembanyama is going to be that guy. But I mean, he's seven. He's Victor's over 7 foot tall. I mean, we've seen how many um skinny 7 footers that we've had in a while that had massive injuries.
and Wimby's injured out for the season now. I think, and
Mhm.
so you're right. You're right. I think Cooper Flag has that potential. If I was a betting man, I would say he's not. You still have to get through Luca the next 20 years. You still have to get through Giannis. You still have to get through Jokic. So it's a tall ladder to climb. OKC with SGA. I mean, it's a hard task. Boston,
Oh, don't get me started with Oklahoma City right now. It's
but JB,
we are
I can
college
I
basketball.
can see that. I can feel the face through the screen. Now, are we still riding that VCU train, JB, or are we gonna have to get off the train here, JB?
We're gonna get
I
off the
like this.
we're gonna get off the VCU train. They came to the Sweet 16 and it was a good run, but Alabama is going to take over that train. Or
I'm letting you have 100% of the upset VCU here. I'm not even going to give my opinion. Last time I gave my upset opinion, we got ramrodded, JB, and this year it's going to be your fault if that happens.
yep.
'Cause
But like
last I ain't doing it.
I
Got two in a
mean
row.
I mean at least VCU has a good reputation. You and your New Mexico.
I was going for something fresh, and I cooked up something terrible.
Yeah. So at least mine has a reputation. Yours didn't. Anyways,
There.
Duke versus Alabama.
This is where I think Alabama, not being a basketball program per se, will kind of the spotlight will be too big in the Elite Eight. Like I said, they got Cooper Flag, multiple NBA players. The spotlight might be too big for Bama here. What do you think?
Yeah, I do agree. I mean, it's Duke is way too good. They got multiple NBA players on that team. That's probably going to be in the higher draft if they all
Oh yeah.
want to be in the draft class this year or next year. So give me Duke.
Now, JB, we get going to the Midwest, the good old corn area. This is where
Oh,
Purdue lies,
yes.
my friend.
Good old Midwest, where it's either hot or it's cold. Right now, it is cold. We've had that one good
But
week.
yesterday,
We had that one good week where it's like high
yes.
60s, low 70s. Great golf weather, I might add. I did not go out. I wanted it to, but I didn't. But anyways, it's cold. It was snowing last night.
I woke up and I had to let my windshield defrost before I went to work because it was nice and warm 2 days ago.
Yep. And it was
Welcome to
like I said, when I was at work last night, it was snowing. For crying out loud. It was snowing. So anyways,
disgusting. It is technically winter for 3 more days.
yeah, whatever. Anyways, Houston versus the SIU Edwardsville. Don't know what that school is. I mean, they're good to be in the March Madness, but not good enough to beat Houston.
I agree. I mean, Houston, yeah. Not a lot to say on that one, JB.
Yep.
Now, Gonzaga versus Georgia.
Mm, this one's tough. Both teams are very equal to me. I kind of want to pick Georgia for this one.
I do too, because again, yes, mind you, they did lose at one point 6 in a row, but it's to Tennessee, Auburn, Florida, Alabama, Texas A&M, and Auburn. They play in the SEC. If they were in a weaker conference, they'd ramrod everybody.
Hmm.
Gonzaga had a hard tough in their own conference, and they lost to UConn, who struggled. They did lose in Kentucky, but that was only by one. UCLA, and they lost to St. Mary's twice. So I think Georgia might pull the small upset here.
Hmm. Now, Clemson versus McNeese, whatever you how you want to call it.
Slap my knee right now. Clemson. I mean, I'm not picking
Yeah,
McNeese
there's
anywhere.
yeah, I don't even know where that school is at. Now, Purdue versus High Point.
We always lose to the small school, and we have not. JB, we made the tournament this year because of how good we started the season, not how good we ended it. Because to start the season, we were a top 10 ranked team. And right now, to end of the season, the final poll, I knew at one point we were top 10 in the nation early in the season when no one's
Hmm.
watching. Now, when it's starting to get popular, it's starting to kind of wind up in the March tournament time, we were now ranked 22nd to finish the season. I think Purdue will still win this game versus High Point. We better watch ourselves.
Yeah. I mean, at the beginning of the season, we were ranked one at one point, and then it's kind of we were fluctuating up and down with the number two and number three, and then we started going down, 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 and back up, and back down. Um, yeah, I'm picking Purdue, but I have a feeling that it's going to be that game is probably going to be a little tougher than what we want it to be.
I agree. That's probably our trauma coming back on us as Purdue fans.
Yeah.
It happened last year too. We made the whole thing. But JB, Illinois versus Texas or Xavier.
I mean, either team, whatever team comes in, Texas or Xavier, I don't think Illinois. I do believe Illinois is better than both of those teams. So give me Illinois.
I mean, I agree as well. Not a lot to say. I'm not a big fan of the play-in games. Same with the NBA. Not a fan of it. Now,
I mean,
Kentucky versus.
technically, to me, they've always had playing games.
I mean, true.
I think
That's
that's
true.
where
I just.
I think that's where the NBA got a hold of that for the
It
playing
is. It is.
games. which is stupid. But I mean, it got us to. I mean, gave us heat all the way up to the finals that one year.
But we could have done that either way. We were still the 8th seed to finish the season.
Yeah, but still.
Then we had to play the 9-10 seed as the play-in, and we won.
Yeah. All right.
Now, JB, Kentucky versus Troy.
Kentucky. Next. I mean, do we really need to talk about Troy?
No, not really. I mean, when Kentucky actually did beat Duke this year, and Troy lost about every big game they played in. They lost to Oregon, they lost to Arkansas, they lost to Houston, lost to Arkansas State and James Madison. So we don't want to talk now. I mean,
Yeah, no,
you nailed
it's
it.
UCLA versus Utah State. I mean, I'm picking UCLA on this one. I don't
I
know.
agree. They have better wins. They beat Gonzaga. They beat Arizona. They beat.
Yeah, there's no question about that one.
Now, Tennessee versus Wofford. Waffle. That was funny.
Waffle, Wofford.
Tennessee.
Yeah.
Tennessee crushed teams this year, JB.
Oh yeah. I mean, like they always have. I mean, they've ranked pretty high last year. I mean, I remember that one game when Tennessee, with Don Kennett and Purdue last year, or was it the year
Yep.
before? Yeah, it was last year.
Last year, yeah.
Yeah, those, we went back and forth, and we barely beat Tennessee last year.
Correct.
But yeah, now Houston versus Georgia. I'm picking Houston. There's no question about it.
I am too. I picked Georgia in the last round based of the conference they played in, but Houston's just better.
Yeah, they're way better.
Here we go again, JB. Clemson versus Purdue. I mean, Christ, JB. Purdue still has the best passing point guard in Purdue history, most assists ever. We were in the Natty last year. Still a good coach. Coaching matters in college basketball.
I mean, it's just
We
the
just
down.
didn't.
It's just the downfall that we've had close to the end of the season.
It's about how you, yeah. It's about how you go into the tournament rather than how you start the season. You're right, but
I mean, Michigan beat us. They destroyed us in the Big Ten
yeah,
championship. Like there was like no question. I mean, they flat out killed us, and it was very disappointing to see Michigan win it all. And then on top of it,
yeah.
I do believe IU. We faced IU twice, and they beat us twice.
They beat us once. We beat them
Oh,
once. We beat.
okay. So yeah, they beat us once,
They
but
beat us the last time.
yeah. So I mean, that
We
means,
beat, yeah.
and that's my thing. It's like that was close to the end of the season,
Yeah.
and it was very disturbing. And that's why I'm very second guessing of, am I going to pick Clemson, where
I almost.
we don't even leave the second round? I mean, yes, you said it. We have the best point guard. I feel like we have the best point guard in all of March Madness right now. But it's just the fact that we need to hit the shots. We need to make them. That's our thing.
Well,
I
yeah.
feel like that's our problem. And I feel like our defense is slacking a little bit.
Oh, it is.
So I mean,
You know, on top of the fact that you got to look at who Clemson beat. Clemson beat Kentucky. Clemson beat Duke. I want to pick Clemson, JB, unbiasedly.
yeah, and that's why I said I'm going with Clemson on this one, just because I really don't want to, but it's just the fact that the way the games that we've had close to the end of the season, because honestly, you can pull up the stats because I can't because I have the bracket. Pull up the last 5 games or last 6 or 7. We'll go last 6. How many did Purdue win? The last
We beat
6
Rutgers.
games. Exactly. Was that the only team that we beat in the last 6 games?
I don't have that exactly in front of me. I don't believe so, but there was a one point, JB, where we hit our longest losing streak since the mid 2000s, which was 4 games, I believe, because we lost to Michigan, we lost to Wisconsin, we lost to Michigan State, we lost to Illinois.
See?
All between the dates of February 11th and March 7th. We're not playing good basketball. We beat a really bad Rutgers team.
Yeah. So
That was it.
I'm picking Clemson. I mean, there's unless unless we find a way to get out of this
We
slump
lost.
and
We lost 6 of our last 9 games.
see, there we go. My
I
point
think
proven.
my last Purdue is last year was I remember last year when we lost the Natty, it was heartbreaking for me after that podcast we did after because last year was truly our chance to win a Natty. We had
Mhm.
Zach Edey, we still had Braden Smith,
We had the
and this
best
Purdue
team. We had
we've
the
ever had
best team we've ever had.
and will ever have. I don't
I
JB.
I think this last year's team was better with was better when that one year when we went to the Elite 8 or the Final 4.
Oh
Was it
yeah,
Elite 8
absolutely.
or Final 4 with Kramer?
It was Elite Eight.
Yeah. And that team was good. But
Yes.
that year that was when almost every single college was like at their top notch. So, but yeah, I'm picking Clemson. Sad to say
I
it,
am
but
too.
I was like unless they figure something
Well,
out and get it out of this out of the slump. So,
we had arguably, and you could argue this because he has the most AP Player of the Years ever. He's the only one that went back to back of them. You could argue Zach Edey's the best college player ever. We had him, and we still didn't win a natty. We got there, we had our opportunity, we lost. Maybe
yep,
we lost. I don't know the next time we're going to have another Zach Edey.
probably not going to.
But before I get more depressed, Illinois versus Kentucky, JB.
Oh, we're picking Kentucky.
Yeah,
I
we're
mean,
picking Kentucky here, absolutely.
Kentucky is always a fantastic basketball team.
Yes.
Always a fantastic college team in basketball. Football, no. Basketball, that's where they thrive on.
Correct. Now we do now, yeah, I think you're right. Kentucky wins. Now, UCLA versus Tennessee, JB.
Tennessee.
I agree with you. Tennessee, that's like I said, that SEC conference is no joke. They won against many SEC teams. They're just better than UCLA. Now, for the Midwest in the Sweet 16, Houston versus Clemson, JB.
Oh, Houston.
They've just been more consistent all year. You're right. You're right.
And
They didn't
now,
have a really a bad slump at all.
No, not even. It's not even close.
And they had an amazing month of February and March. Like we talked about with Purdue, they did not. Give me Houston.
Now this one's going to be a tough one. Tennessee or Kentucky?
Personally, hear me out. I think Tennessee wins this. JB, Kentucky on 3 days ago lost by 29 points in the tournament, in their conference tournament. That's
Hmm.
not a good sign going into March Madness. I think Kentucky's good enough on paper to get to the Sweet 16, but they're not coming in very hot, and Tennessee is.
I do agree. I do agree with you on this
At
one.
least, not wouldn't say hot, Tennessee is, but hotter than Kentucky.
Hmm.
Now, drum roll to get to the Final Four: Houston or Tennessee?
Oh man, this one's a tough one. This one is a tough one.
If it helps you, personally, I think we should go with Houston. Like I said, Tennessee yesterday lost this conference championship game to Florida down to 16th, 86-77. Houston rattled off before they lost this one, two, three, four, five, 6 wins in a row, and those are against Arizona, Kansas, Texas Tech, Iowa State, Arizona, Kansas.
Yeah.
Houston's just they've won a lot of against a lot of good teams.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the way you pointed out, just Houston, they're coming in hot this year, and they're not. I feel like they're not going to stop. Now
Now,
to the
our
final
final four.
four, to the Aladome. We got one side, both 2 seeds. The other side, both 1 seeds.
Me and JB have our final four as Houston, Duke, St. John's, and Michigan State. Let us know in the comments your final four. What do you think of ours? Grade it between A and F.
Oh man, which side do you want first?
Let's do East Midwest. That's where we were.
Okay. Now Duke versus Houston. Now this one to me, both teams are coming up to a hot start, but Duke has. I feel like I want Duke. I'm feeling Duke.
I think you're right. Houston, we have a problem because Cooper Fly's playing in this March Madness. And mind you, like I said before, Duke won their conference championship without him. Imagine what they'll do with him.
Yeah, I agree. Um, Michigan or St. John. To me, I want to pick Saint or not St. John's, but Michigan State. And we got to make this quick because I got stuff to do. So Michigan
No, I
State.
think you're right. I think Michigan State, yeah, because I mean, I had them winning my personal bracket anyway. So Michigan State, this is gritty. They have the better coach.
Hmm. Now, last or not least, Duke versus Michigan State.
I want to say Michigan State, JB. They're grittier, they're tougher.
Hmm.
They have Tom Izzo. Coach K ain't at Duke no more.
Hmm.
He retired. Michigan State's got the better coach. That matters. What you
So
got?
what's
Drum
going to be
roll.
the score? I got Michigan State.
Let's
I probably want
go.
to say 86-72.
Yeah, there we go. 86-72. You don't think it'll be close?
No.
Okay. Okay. You have it here first, people. Michigan State versus Duke, and we have Michigan State as the champions. Again, what do you guys think? Let us know in the comments down below. JB, what do you got for the people, my friend?
Um, Not much, but like I said, I got to wrap things up. I got stuff to do, so I will check you all next week.
And
We're all
until
signing
then,
out.